The warm sand beneath Mia's bare feet still held traces of the afternoon sun as she approached her favorite spot on the deserted stretch of beach, only to find a man in an expensive-looking suit sitting exactly where she always sat, staring out at the darkening ocean with an expression that looked like he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. "You're sitting in my thinking spot," she said, stopping a few feet away from him, her sundress fluttering in the evening breeze. The man turned to look at her, and even in the fading light, she could see the striking features of his face, sharp jawline shadowed with stubble, dark eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 untold stories. He looked out of place on this quiet beach in his tailored suit, dress shoes abandoned beside him in the sand. "Your thinking spot?" he asked, and despite the heaviness she'd seen in his expression moments before, there was a hint of amusement in his voice. "Yes, I come here every evening after work. That's my rock, that's my view, that's my angle of the sunset." She crossed her arms, but there was no real annoyance in her tone, just a playful possessiveness. He looked back out at the water, then patted the sand beside him. "Will you share your thoughts with me then, since I'm apparently occupying your thinking real estate?" Mia hesitated. She didn't know this man, and her mother had always warned her about talking to strangers. But something about him seemed genuinely lost, genuinely in need of the same peace she came here seeking every day. Besides, it was still light enough, and there were a few people walking their dogs further down the beach. "I suppose I could share," she said, settling down onto the sand a respectful distance away, tucking her legs beneath her. "But you first. You're the one who got here early and claimed squatters' rights." The man let out a breath that might have been a laugh. "Fair enough. I'm thinking about how I got everything I ever thought I wanted, and somehow it all feels completely empty." The raw honesty in his words surprised her. "That's pretty heavy for a Thursday evening. What day would be better for an existential crisis?" "Good point." She watched as a wave crashed against the shore, the foam reaching toward them before retreating. "I'm Mia, by the way. Mia Chen." "Marcus." He extended his hand, and she shook it, noting the firm grip, the calluses that suggested he wasn't just some businessman who never worked with his hands. "Marcus Ashford." The name tickled something in the back of her mind, but she couldn't place it. "So, Marcus Ashford, what is it that you got that feels so empty?" He was quiet for a long moment, and she thought maybe she'd pushed too far, too fast. But then he spoke. "Success, I suppose. Money. A company that just closed a deal that will put us in the top 5 manufacturing operations in the country. Everything my father built, everything I've spent the last 10 years expanding. And today, sitting in the office after signing the papers, I just thought, is this it?" "Manufacturing?" she asked. "What do you make?" "Industrial equipment, mostly. Heavy machinery, specialized tools for construction and infrastructure. Ashford Industries." He said it simply, without pretension, but Mia felt her eyes widen. "Wait, Ashford Industries?" "As in the Ashford Industries." She knew the name now. Everyone in their coastal town knew it. The company employed thousands, and Marcus Ashford was the billionaire CEO who'd taken over from his father 5 years ago and turned an already successful business into an empire. "You're that Marcus Ashford." "Guilty," he said, and she could hear the weariness in his voice. "And now you're going to look at me differently." But Mia surprised herself by shaking her head. "No, I'm going to ask you why a billionaire is sitting alone on a beach in a suit looking like his dog just died." That got a real laugh out of him, short but genuine. "You're direct." "Life's too short not to be." She pulled her knees up to her chest, wrapping her arms around them. "So, I closed the biggest deal of my career today. My board was ecstatic. My investors are going to see returns that'll make them dance. And all I could think about was coming here, to this beach where my mother used to bring me when I was a kid, before she passed away. She'd sit right here and tell me that success wasn't about the money, it was about the life you built, the people you loved, the moments that took your breath away. And I realized I have none of that. No life outside the office, no one to share anything with, no moments that aren't scheduled in my calendar. Mia felt her heart squeeze at the vulnerability in his words. Here was a man who had everything money could buy and nothing that actually mattered. Your mom sounds like she was wise. She was. His voice was soft. I lost her when I was 17. Cancer. It was fast and brutal, and by the time we knew what was happening, it was too late. I'm sorry, Mia said, meaning it. My dad died when I was 22. Heart attack, completely unexpected. One day he was there teaching me how to balance the books at our family's restaurant. The next he was gone. Marcus turned to look at her fully for the first time, and she saw recognition in his eyes, the recognition of someone who understood loss. That's hard. 22 is so young. So is 17. She held his gaze. We're both members of a club nobody wants to join. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and deep purple. Mia came here every evening to decompress from the chaos of the restaurant, to let the sound of the waves wash away the stress of managing staff and inventory and demanding customers. But tonight felt different, charged with something she couldn't quite name. Your turn, Marcus said. What were you going to think about before I invaded your spot? Whether to expand our restaurant or keep it small and manageable, she admitted. Chen's Kitchen has been a local favorite for 30 years. My parents built it from nothing. After Dad died, Mom and I kept it going, but lately, she's been wanting to retire, and I've been considering what comes next. We've had investors approach us about opening new locations, franchising the concept. It could set us up financially for life. But, he prompted, but it would change everything. The restaurant is personal right now. I know every regular customer's name, their usual orders, what's happening in their lives. If we expand, it becomes a business instead of a family. And I don't know if that's what Dad would have wanted. Marcus nodded slowly. I expanded my father's business, made it bigger, more profitable, more successful by every measurable metric. And some days, I wonder if he'd be proud or disappointed that I turned his company into something almost unrecognizable from what he built. Do you regret it? Mia asked. I regret what I sacrificed for it, he said. I regret the relationships I didn't build, the experiences I didn't have, the version of myself I might have been if I'd chosen differently. But the business itself, it employs a lot of people, creates opportunities, contributes to communities. That part I can't regret. Mia considered his words. Maybe that's the key. Not whether we expand or stay the same, but why we make the choice. If I expand because I want to honor my father's legacy by sharing our food with more people, that's different than expanding just for the money. Wise words, Marcus said with a smile. Your thinking spot produces good insights. Our thinking spot, she corrected with a grin, if you're going to keep showing up here. Is that an invitation? She felt a flutter in her chest at the hope in his voice. Maybe. Do billionaire CEOs have time for regular beach visits? This one is going to make time. He said it with such certainty that Mia believed him. They talked until the stars began to appear, until the warmth of the day gave way to the cool of the evening, and Mia shivered in her light dress. Marcus immediately shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it around her shoulders. It smelled like expensive cologne and something uniquely him, and Mia found herself not wanting to give it back. "I should go," she said reluctantly, checking her phone and seeing it was nearly 9 o'clock. "Mom will worry and we open early tomorrow. Can I walk you to your car?" Marcus asked, standing and offering his hand to help her up. She took it, noting how perfectly her hand fit in his, how he didn't let go right away even after she was standing. "It's just in the lot past the dunes." They walked slowly, neither seeming eager to end the evening. When they reached her car, a practical 10-year-old Honda that had seen better days, Mia felt suddenly self-conscious next to this man who probably had a garage full of luxury vehicles. But Marcus just smiled. "Same time tomorrow." "You're serious about this?" she asked. "I haven't felt this grounded in years," he admitted. "Whatever it is about this beach, about you, about this conversation, I don't want to lose it." Mia's heart hammered in her chest. "Tomorrow, then, but lose the suit." "You're making me feel underdressed," he laughed. "Deal." She drove home with his jacket still around her shoulders and a smile she couldn't suppress. When she walked into the small house she shared with her mother, she found her mom waiting up in the living room, reading a book about French cooking techniques. "You're late," Helen Chen said, looking up with knowing eyes. "Your thinking took longer than usual." "I met someone," Mia admitted, hanging the jacket carefully on the coat rack. "At the beach." Her mother's eyebrows rose. "Someone good?" "Maybe, I don't know yet. But Mom, we talked for hours and it felt like minutes." Helen smiled, the kind of smile that held years of wisdom and romantic hope. "That's how it started with your father and me. He came into my parents' restaurant every day for a month, and we'd talk while I refilled his tea. By the end of that month, I knew I'd marry him. It's just a conversation, Mom. I barely know him." "But you want to know him more." Mia couldn't deny it. "Yeah, I really do." The next evening, Mia found herself rushing through the dinner service, delegating cleanup to her trusted sous chef Tom so she could leave on time. She'd changed 3 times before settling on a casual sundress in soft blue, letting her dark hair fall loose around her shoulders instead of in its usual work bun. "Hot date." Tom called after her with a grin as she practically ran out the back door. "None of your business," she shot back, but she was smiling. Marcus was already there when she arrived, sitting in their spot, this time in jeans and a simple black shirt that somehow made him look even more attractive than the suit had. He smiled when he saw her approaching, standing to greet her. "You're early," she said. "Didn't want to risk losing the spot," he replied with a grin. "Some woman told me it was prime thinking real estate." They settled into the sand side by side, closer than they'd sat the night before. The ease between them felt natural, as if they'd been doing this for years instead of just once. "How was your day?" Marcus asked. "Chaotic." Friday lunch rush. 3 staff members called in sick, and we had a party of 20 walk-in without a reservation. But we managed. How about you? Any major business deals? "Just board meetings and conference calls. The glamorous life of a CEO," he said dryly. "I spent most of the day watching the clock, if I'm honest." Mia felt warmth spread through her chest at the admission. "Eager to get to your thinking spot." "Eager to see you," he corrected, meeting her eyes with an intensity that made her breath catch. They talked about everything and nothing. He told her about growing up with the pressure of being the heir to Ashford Industries, how he'd rebelled as a teenager by working construction summers instead of interning at the company, how those experiences had actually made him a better leader because he understood the work from the ground up. She told him about learning to cook at her father's side, about the satisfaction of seeing customers' faces light up when they tasted her mother's secret dumpling recipe, about her dreams of maybe writing a cookbook someday that told the story of her family through their food. "I'd buy that book," Marcus said. "Actually, I'd love to try your food. Is Chen's Kitchen the place on Harbor Street?" "That's us," Mia confirmed. "We're not fancy, just good honest food made with love." "The best kind," Marcus said. "Can I make a reservation?" She laughed. "You don't need a reservation, just come by. But be warned, if my mother finds out I've been talking to you, she'll interrogate you like you're joining the CIA." "I can handle tough questions," he assured her. As the days turned into weeks, their evening beach meetings became sacred. Marcus would leave his office at 5 sharp, something that shocked his assistant, who was used to him working until 9 or 10 every night. Mia would arrange her schedule to ensure she could slip away, leaving Tom in charge of closing up. Sometimes they'd talk for hours. Other times they'd sit in comfortable silence, watching the waves and simply being present with each other. Marcus told her about the loneliness of his position, how it was hard to know who genuinely liked him versus who just wanted something from him. Mia shared her fears about expansion, about change, about losing the essence of what made her family's restaurant special. On their 2-week anniversary of meeting, Marcus finally took her up on the invitation to visit Chen's Kitchen. He came in jeans and a button-down shirt, trying to be casual, but Mia could spot the designer labels and the expensive watch. Still, he greeted her warmly when she came out of the kitchen to say hello. "Table for one?" she asked with a smile. "Unless you'll join me. I need to work, but maybe coffee after we close." "I'll wait," he said simply. She seated him at a corner table and tried not to watch as he studied the menu, but she couldn't help sneaking glances through the kitchen window as he ate. The look on his face when he tried her mother's dumplings made her heart sing. Helen noticed, of course. "That's him," she said, not a question but a statement. "The beach man." "Mom, please don't." But Helen was already heading out to Marcus's table. Mia watched in horror and fascination as her mother introduced herself, sat down across from Marcus, and proceeded to have what looked like a very serious conversation. Marcus handled it with grace, smiling and nodding, clearly answering questions honestly. When Helen returned to the kitchen, she had tears in her eyes. "He's good, baby. Your father would have liked him." "What did you talk about?" Mia asked. "I asked him what his intentions were. He said he was falling in love with my daughter and wanted to do it right." Helen squeezed Mia's hand. "He meant it, Mia, I can always tell." Mia's heart raced, falling in love. They'd been meeting for only 2 weeks, but somehow it didn't feel too fast. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. When the restaurant closed, she made 2 cups of tea and brought them to Marcus's table. He'd waited patiently for 3 hours, working on his laptop, but looking up and smiling every time she passed by. "My mother terrified you, didn't she?" Mia said, sliding into the seat across from him. "She's protective, I respect that." He closed his laptop. "And she loves you fiercely, you're lucky to have her." "What did you tell her?" "The truth." He reached across the table and took her hand. "That I haven't stopped thinking about you since the night we met, that you make me want to be better, do better, live better. That being with you feels like coming home." Mia felt tears prick her eyes. "Marcus, you don't have to say anything," he interrupted gently. "I know it's fast. I know we're still getting to know each other, but I wanted you to know how I feel. No games, no pretending to be less interested than I am. You've taught me that life's too short for that." "I'm falling for you too," she whispered. "It scares me how much." He brought her hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. "We'll figure it out together." Their first real date happened the following Saturday. Marcus picked her up in a sleek black car that Mia suspected cost more than she made in 5 years. But he was relaxed about it, opening her door and complimenting her green dress without any of the pretension she'd feared might come with his wealth. "Where are we going?" she asked as they drove north along the coastal highway. "There's a little seafood place about an hour from here. Best lobster rolls in the state, or so I'm told. I wanted to take you somewhere nice, but not so nice that we couldn't just be ourselves." The restaurant was perfect. A weathered building right on the water with picnic tables and string lights, and absolutely no pretense. They ate lobster rolls and clam chowder, and shared a piece of key lime pie, talking and laughing like old friends. Other diners glanced at them occasionally, and Mia realized that some people recognized Marcus, but he ignored the attention, focused entirely on her. After dinner, they walked on the beach, and Marcus took her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. His hand was warm and solid, and Mia marveled at how safe she felt beside him. "Can I tell you something?" Marcus said as they walked. "Anything. That first night I almost didn't go to the beach. I was sitting in my office, feeling sorry for myself, and I thought about just going home to my empty house and my expensive whiskey. But something pulled me there. My mother used to say the universe pushes us where we need to be. I think she pushed me to you." Mia stopped walking and turned to face him. The moonlight caught his features, making him look almost ethereal. "I'm glad you listened to her." He cupped her face gently with his free hand. "Can I kiss you?" Instead of answering, she rose on her tiptoes and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, but then Marcus pulled her closer and deepened it, and Mia felt like she was drowning in the best possible way. His lips were warm and sure, and when they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, she knew with absolute certainty that this man had become essential to her. "Wow," she breathed. "Yeah," he agreed, resting his forehead against hers. "Wow." They made the drive back slowly, reluctant for the evening to end. When Marcus walked her to her door, he kissed her again, sweet and lingering before pulling back with visible restraint. "I'll see you tomorrow at the beach," he asked. "Absolutely." As their relationship deepened over the following weeks, Mia started to understand the unique challenges that came with dating someone like Marcus. The paparazzi found out about them after they were photographed together at a charity gala Marcus had asked her to attend. Suddenly, her quiet life was invaded by photographers camped outside the restaurant and gossip blogs speculating about the mysterious restaurateur who'd captured the billionaire's heart. "I'm sorry," Marcus said when they met at the beach the evening after the first articles appeared. "I should have warned you better about what this might be like." Mia had been shaken at first, but she'd also seen how Marcus handled the attention, always protective of her, always making sure she was comfortable. "It's weird, but we'll figure it out. As long as they don't scare away our customers." "Actually," he said carefully, "I've been meaning to talk to you about that. I drove by Chen's kitchen this afternoon. The line was around the block." She groaned. "Because of the publicity. That's exactly what I didn't want, people coming because of you, not because of our food." "But they'll come back because of the food," Marcus pointed out. "This could be an opportunity, Mia. Not to franchise or expand in some corporate way, but to share what you do with more people. What if you added some seating, hired a few more staff, but kept everything else exactly the same? Let the food speak for itself." She considered it. "You think it could work?" I think you're talented enough that once people taste your food, they won't care why they came in the first place. He pulled her close. But it's your decision. Always your decision. I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your family's business. The sincerity in his voice reassured her. This was one of the things she loved about Marcus, how he respected her autonomy even while offering his perspective. He never made her feel small or inexperienced despite his business success. Over dinner with her mother that night, Mia broached the subject. "Mom, what would you think about expanding the dining room? Not new locations, just more capacity here." Helen looked up from her rice, studying her daughter's face. "This is because of the attention from Marcus. Partly. But also because I've been thinking about what you said about retiring. If I'm going to keep Dad's legacy alive, maybe I need to do it in a bigger way. Share the love more widely." "Your father always said good food was meant to be shared," Helen said softly. "If you want to expand, baby, I support you, but make sure you're doing it for the right reasons." "I think I am," Mia said. "I want to honor what you and Dad built, but I also want to build my own future. And maybe," she added with a small smile, "I want to prove to Marcus that I can take smart business risks too." Helen laughed. "That man already thinks you hung the moon. You have nothing to prove to him." The renovation took 3 months. Marcus offered to invest, but Mia declined, wanting to do this with a small business loan and her own savings. He respected her choice but showed up every Sunday, their day off, to help with the physical work. Seeing the billionaire CEO in work boots and a paint-stained shirt, installing new tables and refinishing the floors alongside hired contractors, made Mia fall even more deeply in love with him. "You don't have to do this," she told him one afternoon as they took a break, sharing a thermos of iced tea. "I want to," he said simply. "This matters to you, so it matters to me. Plus, I kind of like the manual labor. Takes me back to those construction summers." Tom, her sous chef, walked past carrying supplies and called out, "Your boyfriend is better at drywall than I am." "It's embarrassing." "My boyfriend has hidden talents," Mia called back, loving how the word felt on her tongue. My boyfriend. 3 months in, and it still gave her butterflies. Marcus caught her hand and pulled her close, despite being sweaty and covered in dust. "Say it again." "What? Call me your boyfriend again," she grinned. "My boyfriend is fishing for compliments." "Guilty." He kissed her softly. "I love being your boyfriend, though I'm already planning for the day I get to be your something more," her heart stuttered. "Marcus." "Not yet," he said quickly. "I'm not asking yet, but I'm thinking about it. I want you to know that's where I see this going, where I hope we're going." "Me too," she whispered, and the smile he gave her could have powered the entire city. The reopening of the expanded Chen's kitchen was a massive success. They'd added seating for 30 more people, hired 3 additional staff members, and updated the kitchen equipment while keeping the menu and atmosphere exactly as they'd always been. Customers old and new packed the place, and the reviews praised not just the food but the heart that went into every dish. Marcus came to the reopening with a massive bouquet of flowers and spent the evening bussing tables and charming customers, refusing to be anything other than helpful. Watching him laugh with her regulars, seeing how naturally he fit into this part of her life, Mia felt overwhelming gratitude for the night he'd sat in her thinking spot. Late that evening, after the last customer left and the staff finished cleanup, Marcus and Mia walked to the beach. It had become their tradition, ending important days in the spot where everything began. "I'm proud of you," Marcus said as they settled into their usual place. "You took a risk," stayed true to your vision, and succeeded on your own terms. I learned from the best, she said, leaning against his shoulder. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the waves. After a while, Marcus spoke. I've been thinking about what you said that first night, about success and emptiness. Yeah, I'm not empty anymore. You filled all those spaces I didn't even know were hollow. He turned to face her, taking both her hands. Mia, these last 6 months with you have been the happiest of my life. You've made me remember what matters, what I was missing while I was building an empire, and I don't ever want to go back to that version of myself. Marcus, what are you saying? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Mia's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a stunning diamond ring, elegant and classic, exactly what she would have chosen for herself. I'm saying I want forever with you. I want beach evenings and restaurant chaos and Sunday morning cooking lessons from your mom. I want to build a life together, not just a successful career. Mia Chen, will you marry me? Tears streamed down her face as she nodded enthusiastically. Yes, yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly, catching the moonlight and sending sparkles across the sand. Then he kissed her, deep and passionate and full of promise, and Mia felt like her heart might burst from happiness. When they finally broke apart, both laughing and crying, Marcus pulled her close. I already asked your mother's permission, by the way, last week. What did she say? She said your father would have given his blessing, and so did she. Then she cried and hugged me and made me promise to always make you happy. You do, Mia said fiercely. You make me so happy. They stayed on the beach until the stars filled the sky, making plans and dreaming dreams. Marcus wanted a wedding on this beach, in their thinking spot, which made Mia cry all over again. They talked about the future, about balancing their two very different careers, about the possibility of kids someday and what kind of legacy they wanted to build together. I've been thinking about something else too, Marcus said. I want to step back a bit at Ashford Industries. Promote my VP to COO, let him handle more of the day-to-day. I'll still be CEO, still be involved, but I want time for a life, for us. Are you sure? Mia asked. I don't want you to resent me. I could never resent you. You saved me, Mia. You reminded me what I was working for in the first place. He squeezed her hand. Besides, I have some ideas about manufacturing that could really help small businesses. Maybe a division focused on affordable restaurant equipment. Your expertise could be invaluable, she laughed. Are you trying to recruit me? I'm trying to build something with you. In every sense of the word. The engagement sparked another media frenzy, but this time Mia handled it with more grace. She and Marcus did one interview together, with a journalist from a respected business magazine, where they talked honestly about their relationship and their values. The resulting article was thoughtful and warm, focusing on their shared commitment to family legacy and community impact, rather than just the billionaire meets restaurateur fairy tale angle. The wedding planning took 6 months. Mia wanted to keep working at the restaurant throughout, unwilling to leave her mother and staff hanging, and Marcus supported that completely. He handled most of the logistics with the help of a wedding planner, checking in with Mia on all the important decisions, but taking the stress off her shoulders. They were married on a perfect September evening on the beach, in the exact spot where they'd met. The guest list was an interesting mix of Marcus's business associates and board members alongside restaurant regulars and Mia's extended family. Helen walked Mia down the aisle, both of them crying happy tears, while Marcus waited at the makeshift altar with tears in his own eyes. The The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. They'd written their own vows, and when Marcus promised to always make time for their thinking spot, to never let work become more important than their relationship, to honor her family as his own, Mia felt like the luckiest woman alive. When she promised to support his dreams while pursuing her own, to call him out when he was working too hard, to love him through everything life brought, she saw the same overwhelming love reflected in his eyes. "I love you," he whispered as the officiant pronounced them married. "I love you too," she whispered back. And then they were kissing as husband and wife while their guests cheered and the ocean provided the perfect soundtrack. The reception was held at Chen's kitchen, which they'd closed for the evening and decorated with thousands of fairy lights and flowers. Helen and Tom had prepared a feast that combined traditional Chinese dishes with Marcus's favorite American comfort foods, and the whole evening felt like the perfect blend of their two worlds. During the father-daughter dance, Marcus escorted Helen onto the floor since Mia's father couldn't be there. Mia danced with Marcus's father's best friend, who'd been like an uncle to Marcus growing up, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Later, when Mia and Marcus had their first dance as husband and wife to a slow, romantic song they'd both loved, she knew her father was there in spirit, blessing this union. "Happy," Marcus murmured as they swayed together. "Happier than I ever thought possible," she replied honestly. The honeymoon was 2 weeks in Italy, a country neither of them had visited but both had always dreamed of seeing. They ate their way through Tuscany, took cooking classes in Rome, wandered the streets of Venice hand in hand. Marcus had initially wanted to stay in luxury hotels, but Mia convinced him that small family-run inns would be more authentic, and he quickly agreed she was right. In a small village outside Florence, they stumbled upon a family restaurant that reminded them both of Chen's kitchen. All warmth and tradition and love made tangible through food. The owner, an elderly woman named Nonna Rosa, took one look at the newlyweds and insisted on preparing a special meal for them. As she cooked, she told them about her husband, who'd passed away 10 years earlier, and how she kept the restaurant running to honor his memory and passion. "Love," she said in heavily accented English, "is what makes the food taste good, not just ingredients, love." Mia and Marcus looked at each other across the table, hands intertwined, and knew exactly what she meant. When they returned home, tanned and relaxed and more in love than ever, they settled into married life with surprising ease. Marcus had been true to his word, cutting back his hours and delegating more responsibility at Ashford Industries. He still went to the office, still made the big decisions, but he was home for dinner most nights and always made time for their evening beach walks. Mia continued running Chen's kitchen with her mother, but the expanded capacity meant she could hire a manager to handle some of the operational details, freeing her up to focus on the creative aspects she loved most. She started writing that cookbook, and Marcus was her official taste tester, offering feedback and encouragement. They bought a house together, choosing a place near the beach rather than in the wealthy enclave where Marcus's old bachelor penthouse had been. It was a beautiful craftsman-style home with a big kitchen and a porch that faced the ocean, and they spent weekends making it their own, hanging pictures and choosing furniture and planting a garden. Helen moved into the guest house on the property, which she initially resisted until Mia pointed out that this way they could work on the cookbook together more easily, and Marcus assured her he wanted family close. Having her mother nearby was a blessing, especially as Helen started showing them old photo albums and sharing stories of Mia's father that she'd never told before. He would have loved Marcus, Helen said one evening as the three of them sat on the porch watching the sunset. He always said he wanted you to find a man who would be your partner in everything, not just a husband, someone who would build a life with you. I think I found that, Mia said, smiling at Marcus. I think you both found it, Helen corrected. My daughter is pretty special too, you know. Oh, I know, Marcus said seriously. I'm reminded every single day how lucky I am. A year into their marriage, Mia's cookbook was published. It was more than just recipes. It was the story of her family's immigration, her parents' love story, the building of Chen's kitchen, and the lessons she'd learned about food and life and love. Marcus threw a launch party at a bookstore in the city, inviting everyone they knew, and the book quickly became a regional bestseller. I'm so proud of you, Marcus said at the launch, holding her close as she signed books and greeted readers. You're sharing your story with the world. Our story, she corrected. You're in here too. The chapter about finding love is all about you. He'd read that chapter in private and had come to find her with tears in his eyes, thanking her for seeing him so clearly and loving him so completely. Around the same time, Marcus launched his new division at Ashford Industries, focusing on affordable, high-quality restaurant equipment designed with input from actual restaurant owners and chefs. Mia had consulted extensively on the project, and seeing her ideas brought to life in manufacturing was thrilling. The division was immediately successful, filling a real need in the market, and Marcus found new satisfaction in work that felt more directly connected to helping people. 2 years into their marriage, on a regular Tuesday evening at the beach, Mia told Marcus she was pregnant. They'd been trying for a few months, hopeful but not obsessive about it, and when the test came back positive, she'd cried for an hour before pulling herself together to tell him. Really? He'd asked, his voice full of wonder. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, she confirmed, and he'd lifted her up and spun her around before remembering he should probably be more careful, making them both laugh. The pregnancy was relatively easy, and Mia worked at the restaurant until her 8th month, when Marcus and Helen finally convinced her to take it easy. She spent the last month finishing her second cookbook. This one focused on family meals and cooking with kids, already thinking ahead to the little one they'd soon be feeding. Their daughter was born on a warm spring evening, a healthy 7 pounds with a full head of dark hair in her father's eyes. They named her Grace Helen Ashford, after Marcus's mother and Mia's, and holding her for the first time, Mia understood a completely new dimension of love. Marcus was an incredible father from day one. He took paternity leave, something almost unheard of for a CEO, and spent weeks learning how to change diapers and swaddle and soothe the baby's cries. He'd walk Grace around their house at 3 in the morning, telling her stories about her grandparents, singing off-key lullabies, promising her a world full of love and opportunity. When Mia returned to work part-time after 3 months, they worked out a system. Marcus adjusted his schedule so he could be home with Grace in the mornings, going into the office midday. Helen helped in the afternoons, and Mia did evenings at the restaurant, always making sure to be home for the baby's bedtime. It was exhausting and complicated, but they made it work because they were a team. On Grace's first birthday, they had a party at the beach, in their thinking spot. Friends and family gathered, and watching their daughter take wobbly steps in the sand, laughing as the waves tickled her toes, Mia felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "What are you thinking?" Marcus asked, coming up behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. "I'm thinking about the night we met," she said. when I was annoyed that someone was in my thinking spot. I had no idea that interruption would become my whole life. The best interruptions usually are unplanned, he said, kissing her temple. I was sitting there contemplating how empty my life was, and then you appeared like an answer to a question I didn't know how to ask. They watched Grace toddle toward Helen, who scooped her up with a laugh. Their daughter was happy and healthy and so deeply loved, growing up in a world where success meant family and connection, not just money and achievement. Should we have another? Marcus asked suddenly. I kind of like the idea of Grace having a sibling. Growing up alone was lonely. Mia turned in his arms to face him. Yeah. I want a house full of kids and noise and chaos. I want family dinners where we're all talking over each other. I want to build something that lasts beyond any business or restaurant. I want that too, Mia said, kissing him softly. A whole beautiful chaotic life together. Their son came 2 years later, a robust baby boy they named James William Ashford, after both of their fathers. He was the opposite of Grace in temperament, loud and demanding where she'd been calm and easy, but Marcus and Mia adored him just as fiercely. Grace was fascinated by her baby brother, wanting to help with everything, already showing the same caring nature her grandmother possessed. Chen's kitchen continued to thrive, becoming not just a local favorite but a destination restaurant that food critics praised for its authenticity and heart. Mia eventually opened a second location, but instead of franchising broadly, she partnered with a young chef who'd immigrated from Vietnam and wanted to share her own family's food story. The model became about supporting immigrant culinary entrepreneurs rather than building a corporate chain, and it was more fulfilling than Mia had imagined possible. Marcus's career evolved too. He remained CEO of Ashford Industries, but transitioned more into a chairman role, focusing on strategic direction and mentorship rather than day-to-day operations. He also started a foundation that provided business education and startup capital to working-class entrepreneurs, remembering his own summer experiences and wanting to create opportunities for others. The foundation's first major success was a young man who'd grown up in foster care and wanted to start a landscaping business. With the foundation's support and Marcus's personal mentorship, the business grew into a thriving operation that employed dozens of people. Marcus showed up to the ribbon-cutting ceremony with tears in his eyes, telling Mia later that this felt more meaningful than any corporate deal he'd ever closed. 5 years into their marriage, on their anniversary, Marcus and Mia returned to their thinking spot alone. Helen had taken the kids for the evening, insisting the couple needed time together. They brought a picnic dinner, a bottle of wine and a blanket, settling into the sand as the sun began to set. Do you remember what we talked about that first night? Marcus asked, pouring them each a glass of wine. You said you'd achieved everything you thought you wanted, but it all felt empty, Mia recalled. And I was trying to figure out whether to expand the restaurant. And now I can't imagine a fuller life, Mia said. 2 beautiful kids, work that matters, family all around us. You. Marcus clinked his glass against hers. To interruptions that change everything. To thinking spots and the courage to share them, Mia added. They drank and ate and watched the waves, holding hands like they always did, comfortable in the silence that comes from truly knowing another person. After a while, Marcus pulled out his phone and showed her something he'd been working on. What's this? Mia asked, looking at architectural plans. A community center, Marcus explained. I want to build it here near the beach. Cooking classes, business workshops, mentorship programs, all free for local residents. A place where people can come together, learn, grow. I was thinking maybe you could run the culinary program. Mia felt tears well up in her eyes. Marcus, this is beautiful. It's inspired by you, he said. By everything you've taught me about legacy and community and what actually matters. Ashford Industries will fund it, but I want it to be something we build together. Another way to honor our parents and their values. Yes, she said immediately. Absolutely yes. Let's do it. The community center took 3 years to build. They were deeply involved in every aspect, from the design to the programming to the hiring of staff. When it finally opened, the ceremony was attended by hundreds of people, from local residents who'd used the services to business leaders who'd contributed to the project to family and friends who'd supported Marcus and Mia throughout. Grace, now 7, and James, 5, cut the ribbon together with their parents, a symbol of the family legacy being passed to the next generation. The center was named the Grace and William Chen Ashford Community Center, honoring both of Mia's parents, and it became exactly what they'd envisioned. A vibrant hub where people from all backgrounds could access resources and opportunities. Mia ran monthly cooking classes that were always overbooked, teaching people not just recipes, but the stories behind the food, the way cooking could connect generations and cultures. Marcus mentored aspiring entrepreneurs, sharing the hard-won lessons of his own journey. Helen taught traditional Chinese cooking techniques to packed classes, delighting in passing on her knowledge. As their children grew, Marcus and Mia made sure to instill the same values they'd learned. Grace and James spent time at both Chen's Kitchen and Ashford Industries, learning about hard work and service from an early age. They also spent countless evenings at the beach, playing in the sand of the thinking spot while their parents watched, hands intertwined. "Mom, why do you and Dad come here every day?" Grace asked one evening when she was 10. Mia and Marcus exchanged a smile. "This is where we met," Mia explained. "It's our special place." "Tell us the story again," James begged. And even though they'd heard it hundreds of times, both kids settled in to listen. "Well," Marcus began, "I was sitting in your mom's thinking spot, feeling pretty sorry for myself when this beautiful woman came up and told me I was trespassing. And I thought he was just some sad businessman who needed to learn how to relax," Mia continued with a laugh. "But you talked anyway," Grace prompted. "But we talked anyway," Marcus confirmed. And talking turned into friendship, and friendship turned into love, and love turned into marriage, and marriage gave us you too. So really, this spot is where our whole family began. James looked around at the beach with new appreciation. "It's magic then." "Kind of," Mia agreed. But the real magic was being brave enough to share the space, to be open to something new, to take a chance on someone different from us. "The real magic," Marcus added, "was your mom being willing to see past the suit and the money and the reputation to who I actually was underneath, and me being willing to let her see it." Years continued to pass in the beautiful, ordinary rhythm of a well-lived life. Chen's Kitchen celebrated its 50th anniversary with a week-long celebration that drew food lovers from across the country. Mia's third cookbook won a prestigious culinary award. Marcus successfully transitioned Ashford Industries to a new CEO, remaining as executive chairman, but finally achieving the work-life balance he'd always wanted. Grace decided she wanted to be a chef, training under her mother and grandmother, bringing new ideas and energy to the family business while respecting its traditions. James, to everyone's surprise, fell in love with engineering and went to work at Ashford Industries, fascinated by the machinery and manufacturing processes that had built the family fortune. On their 25th wedding anniversary, Mia and Marcus renewed their vows on the beach, in their thinking spot, surrounded by their children, grandchildren from Marcus's cousin who'd become like a sibling, Helen now in her 80s but still sharp and loving, and hundreds of friends who'd been part of their journey. 25 years ago, the officiant said, these two people met right here on this beach, in what they call their thinking spot. They could never have imagined everything that was about to unfold, all the love and challenge and growth and joy that was coming. But they took the leap anyway, trusting in something bigger than themselves. When it was time for them to speak, Marcus went first. Mia, you saved my life. I mean that literally. I was successful but dying inside, and you reminded me what it meant to truly live. Every day with you has been a gift. Every challenge we've faced together. Every joy has been magnified by sharing it with you. I promise to keep showing up, keep growing, keep loving you with everything I have for all the days I have left. Mia was crying openly now. Marcus, you saw me when I felt invisible. You respected my dreams while sharing your own. You've been my partner in every sense of the word, building this incredible life alongside me. You've honored my family, loved my mother, been the most amazing father to our children. I promise to keep sharing my thinking spot with you, to keep choosing you every single day, to love you forever. They kissed as the sun set behind them, casting everything in golden light, and their family cheered and cried and celebrated the love that had started with a simple conversation on a beach 25 years earlier. That night, after all the guests had gone home and it was just the two of them again, Mia and Marcus returned to their thinking spot one more time. They sat in the sand, older now but no less in love, watching the waves roll in under the starlight. What are you thinking? Marcus asked, the same question he'd asked hundreds of times over the years. I'm thinking that I'm grateful I came to my thinking spot that day, Mia said. I'm grateful you were sitting here. I'm grateful we had the courage to talk to each other, to be vulnerable, to build something real. Me too, Marcus said softly. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just gone home that night, if I'd wallowed in my emptiness instead of seeking out this beach. But you didn't, Mia pointed out. You trusted your instinct. You were open to something changing. Best decision I ever made. He pulled her close, and she rested her head on his shoulder, fitting perfectly against him like she always had. They sat in peaceful silence, breathing in sync, hearts beating together. The waves provided their symphony, the stars their ceiling. In that moment, everything felt complete, the circle of their love story drawing perfectly closed while simultaneously opening to the infinite future ahead. Do you think Grace will bring her someday? Marcus mused. If she finds someone. I hope so, Mia said. I hope both our kids find what we found, someone who challenges them and supports them and loves them completely. Someone who's willing to share their thinking spot, Marcus added with a smile. Exactly. As they sat there, two people who'd found each other against all odds and built a life that honored both their pasts and their dreams, Mia felt a deep sense of peace. Success wasn't about money or fame or expansion or empire building. Success was this: love that endured, family that supported, work that mattered, and moments that took your breath away. It was evening walks on the beach with the person who knew you best. It was watching your children become themselves. It was carrying forward the legacies of those who came before, while creating something new. It was being brave enough to let someone into your thinking spot and discovering they were exactly who you needed. I love you, Mia whispered into the night. I love you too, Marcus whispered back. Forever and always. The waves kept coming, steady and eternal, washing up on the shore where their love story had begun and where it would continue, day after day, year after year. A testament to what happens when two people are brave enough to share their thoughts, their space, and their hearts. As they finally stood to head home, Marcus took one last look at their spot, the place that had given him everything. Tomorrow they'd come back like they always did, and the day after that. And the day after that. Because some spots are too precious to ever abandon, some love too deep to ever fade, some stories too beautiful to ever end. Hand in hand, hearts full, they walked back to the life they'd built together, ready for whatever came next, secure in the knowledge that as long as they had each other and their thinking spot, they'd always find their way home.